Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Voice in Sport. Excited to have you here. Excited also to have Jordan Biasi here today with us. Hi, Mackenzie. Nice to see you. Okay, just bring her in.
Hi! It worked. Yay. How are you, Jordan?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Where are you?
I am in my room in DC, actually.
Oh, nice. So you're not that
Hmm.
far. I'm in New York City, so we're
Oh, no.
close.
Pretty close.
Yeah. Well, welcome to Voice in Sport. I'll do a quick little intro for everybody and then we'll get started. So everybody's kind of just piling in right now. Um, I'm Steph Strack, founder of Voice in Sport. This is a new platform to support female athletes during their journey. We're all about giving female athletes a platform to use their voice, share stories, and ultimately, change more than just the game. So thank you for joining us, Jordan. And we're pretty new. We just started in January. So thank you, everybody out there, for supporting us. Jordan doesn't really need an introduction, but I'll do one anyway. Jordan Dibiasi, hopefully I say that right. Is that right?
DiBiase, yeah.
Dibiasi. Played at Stanford, originally from Colorado, Highlands
Yep.
Ranch, and then is currently playing with the Washington Spirit in the NWSL. So super excited to have you on because you had the journey that a lot of the girls in our community are in the middle of right now.
Thanks for
Um,
having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you for coming. So let's start with like your journey. Like let's just walk us through like what sports did you play when you were really little? When did you start playing soccer all the way up to like where you are now in the NWSL?
Okay, I have an older brother. He is 3.5 years older than me. And so I grew up in Colorado. And I idolized him. I did any and everything he did, probably to an extreme. I look back on it now and I'm like, wow, I wore his clothes. Like I was his, I was like, Joseph, thanks for putting up with me. But,
How much
yeah,
older was he
so
than you?
he's 3.5 years older than me.
Okay.
So every sport he played growing up, I played. And lucky for me, one of those sports was soccer. So I started playing soccer when I was probably 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. And I continued with that. But in addition to soccer, I was also playing basketball, baseball, softball, lacrosse. I did a little bit of gymnastics. I just kind of dipped my foot in all of it. And I feel
Amazing.
really lucky that my parents kind of introduced me and put me in all those sports, and that my brother kind of paved that way for me, so that I could kind of try them all out. But the one that really stuck with me was soccer. And when I had gotten into, I think it was fourth or fifth grade, that was when we went competitive, and it became year round. And so that was kind of when I decided to commit the majority of my time to soccer. I still played basketball and I did some tennis, but it wasn't at the competitive level I was doing prior. It was kind of like a league that I played in on Tuesday nights after soccer practice with half my soccer team kind of thing.
Okay. So that was like fourth and fifth grade.
Yep.
Okay. And then when did you like go just to like one sport?
Soccer was my sole, so it was kind of like probably started around fifth or sixth grade of like soccer being my priority. And then by the time I hit high school, I only played soccer,
Okay.
which I'm kind
Amazing.
of a rarity because when I look around at my team, actually, the Spirit, I would say I'm one of the few players that didn't play multiple sports in high school.
Yeah. That's pretty cool to see. Like a lot of the girls on the team
Yeah.
actually played other sports because I think it's so important to try a bunch of sports when you're younger.
Oh, so important. And I think that I missed out a little bit on that. I made the decision and I'm really happy with my path, but I hear all of the experiences. One, they just had these different friendships and different groups to hang out with, which I think is really cool. And then two, playing the different sports, they have different experiences, and those sports have helped them in their transition to solely focusing on soccer. So a lot of them were running track, or they're playing basketball, and their coordination, their speed, their change of pace, whatever it may be, it's really benefited them now in their professional career.
Yeah, totally. I wish I would have like stuck with track a little bit, because I feel like just knowing how to like run and like really like maximize your speed is so important.
Oh
in
yeah,
soccer,
me too. That's
you know?
my weakness. Come on,
Well,
Joseph. Why didn't you do track growing up? Then I would be faster.
well, that's amazing. So talk to me a little bit. I mean, it's really cool to see you going from Stanford, 4 years there, and then on to the pro league. And a couple questions came in about like that transition. So talk a little bit about like going from college to the professional league, and is there a big difference in like level of play, and what really, why did you make that decision to go on and play pro?
I think there's been like two big transition points in my career, in my journey. One would be from the high school, like club level, to college, and then from college to the professional. So I had been exposed to it a little bit from going from Colorado to Stanford for my collegiate career. But when you do that, girls are maybe 4 years older than you, and then you take the jump from collegiate to professional. Well, now I'm playing with girls who are 15 years older than me. And not only that, but soccer is their career. They're being paid to play soccer. They've been able to prioritize themselves and doing what they need to be the best soccer players they can be, where prior to that, I'm wearing a lot of different hats. I am a student. I was in a sorority, I was playing soccer, I was doing a lot of different things. And so I was spreading myself thinner. And then I had also a lot of guidance from coaches, from my family, from like your teammates, whatnot. And then you go to this professional game, and it's really like it's an awesome honor. And it was something I didn't expect, but you take accountability for your process. So whether that be like recovery at Stanford, all the resources were right next to our locker room. It was so easy. It was just kind of like second nature, and everyone on the team did it. So it's kind of like, oh, that's what you do. Well, I came to the Spirit, and it was something I had to actively seek out and be really proactive in. And I wasn't used to me having to take that accountability. And so I initially, I made a big mistake, and I wasn't doing as good a job at that. But
Is that
really cool,
Jordan, is that because there's not the resources, or is it because you sort of were more independent, not being as part of a school?
yeah, there are the resources, but they're not as readily just like thrown at you. Where at Stanford, it's just right there. It's something you have to actively pursue and ask for and like reach out for. And I initially just assumed, oh, we just don't have those resources. No, we do. It's my responsibility, and I need to take the accountability to find them and do what I need. And that was kind of like with everything. It's with nutrition. Like, I am no longer eating at the dining halls. I'm making food for myself, which has been really fun to learn how to cook and whatnot. Yeah. Or just like the loading, and kind of like what I know what makes me the best soccer player I can be. And if I need to have the accountability, the courage to stand up for myself and to make those decisions that are best for me. Where before it was kind of like outlined for me. And so I didn't have to necessarily think for myself and take that process into my own hands fully.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about like nutrition, because we know how important like fueling your body is to like performing at a really great level. And now that we're not all performing, nutrition becomes like even more important. So talk to us about like what you've learned now that you've gone through like an amazing college and now onto the pro teams. What have you learned about nutrition? What would you pass on to the other girls out there? And especially right now when we're not playing.
Yeah, I have learned a lot. I think what's really awesome is there's so many good role models on my team at the Spirit, and just at Stanford. And that like right now we're not competing, but like in DC it tends to be really hot and humid, so hydration is key. I had never played in such a humid environment before, and so I was drinking water, but I was definitely not drinking as much as I would need to replenish all that I was losing at training last year. And so right now, when we're not at team training and maybe at Stanford, I was kind of held more accountable for like being reminded, drink, drink, drink. Well, I came to the pros, it's just assumed, you know, you need to be hydrating. And I made that mistake. And so right now, while we're not training, that's been a big priority, is to stay on my hydration. Or like we used to have team lunches, and what's been really like, the Spirit is so awesome. They have actually provided us with lunches still. So we're still able to have that like really hearty meal, a mixture of like vegetables, protein, and some carbs. And so that's been really nice. That I'm not cooking every single meal on my own, but it's just making sure that I'm staying accountable. I think that for me personally, being around and at the house, I like to be doing stuff. And so if I am just around the house and I'm not really doing anything, then I tend to be like, oh, I'm going to go eat a snack or something, when I'm not necessarily hungry or whatnot. And so
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's been a struggle, but it's been cool to learn like, okay, well, if that's the case, then let's have some healthy alternatives.
Yeah.
And then working with our club and like talking to the resources that I do have and people that are on my team to kind of brainstorm what would be better alternatives to what maybe I was and have been snacking on.
Yeah. Good for you. Okay. Well, okay. Before we move off nutrition, what's like your favorite go-to snack before like a workout?
Before a workout, I guess it depends on what type of workout. I tend to like to have like a piece of fruit or something, just like some quick energy. Um, and yeah, and like some peanut butter is like
Yeah.
usually like a banana and peanut butter is my go-to,
A
tends to
good
be.
like protein carbohydrate
Yes,
combo. Like
exactly.
usually does the trick. Okay. Okay, so a lot of the girls from college have written questions about like your favorite thing about being pro, because I think a lot of girls are they're in college, they're almost like at their last year or they're close to it. And we all know we don't get paid very much in the pro circuit in female sports yet. So, what would you say is your favorite part? And to the girls that are considering to go pro and they're weighing that decision, what would you put up on the board to like weigh to go or not to go pro?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because it is true. Like you leave college and you have two choices. You can continue playing or you can go into like the real world. And for me, that decision, it came easy, and it was because I like my love for soccer, and I want to be happy. Like, to me, success is pursuing something that you're really passionate about and enjoying what you're doing. And so
Mm-hmm.
I understood what I was deciding when I made the decision. And for me, it's worth it to be able to wake up every single day and to go and do what I love. Uh, and in that, like, regardless of what the pay is, you're still being paid to play soccer. Like, how cool, what an awesome opportunity. And our bodies are so amazing, and it's not something that is going to hold up forever. Like, a lot of people say this, but it's kind of like, you know what, like, it's kind of like a once in a lifetime opportunity. You can only play for so long. And if you have to weigh those possibilities of like, yeah, like right now, I am in a total separate part of the country than all my family is. And that was new to me. And it was a hard transition to like not have a big community here. And like the pay or whatever it may be, like you have to prioritize. Well, for me, being able to play soccer outweighed everything. And that opportunity was I would never turn it down. And so it was easy for me. And at that, like you have choices in your situation. I feel really lucky. The DC is really accommodating. The team is really close. It's kind of like the second family that I've gotten out here. And I didn't know that when I was drafted. But it's been awesome, like, opportunity. I'm really happy where I am. And I think that when you're sound in your decision, then everything tends to work out, and it's kind of like, if that's your end goal, then when you do take on hardships or whatnot, it's worth it to you in the end. And so those hardships, you can kind of rationalize and choose to think of it as you might, but you're more likely to kind of like, I want this, I'm going to push through and make the most of it.
And that's great. It's great advice, and it's true. Like, we can't play forever. So like, when you can do it, do it. But as you think about like the future, how are you sort of balancing your life now? You obviously graduated from college. What was your degree, and what are you doing now kind of outside of soccer to kind of think about what's next after soccer?
It's a really good question. I graduated, it's called Science, Technology, and Society. I liked it because it was pretty broad. I took a lot of classes in design and computer science and in management. And I was kind of like, I don't know what I want to do. I did a couple internships, but it was hard. Like, you're in summer, like when we're on the quarter system, we have maybe a month and a half of summer before we go back into preseason. And at that, in school, like, you need to be training, you need to be lifting, whatnot. Like, you have to find an internship that's kind of accommodating to that. But in the experiences I did have, they were awesome. And what I learned was that I really like to problem solve. I really like to work in groups. But I didn't necessarily have like, okay, this is the career path I know I want to do. So since I've been here, I'm like, I want to make the most of it. Like, we have trainings for a couple hours a day, but I have the afternoon. And so what can I do to better myself? So
talk to Boys in Sport.
Yeah, exactly. And my original plan was I was going to be like kind of job shadowing and doing like, there's a lot of opportunity in DC, and just like going and reaching out and looking at different jobs and just seeing what's out there. But that hasn't totally worked out because of everything going on, and everyone's doing everything right now. So when everything opens up, and when it does, and when it's safe, I want to continue on with that. I have been like doing a lot of, I really like kids. I really like interacting with the younger generations. And so I've been doing a lot of FaceTime calls with younger teams and kind of trying to be an encouragement. I've getting involved at the hospital and helping out there. And so that's kind of been my plan of attack, and then just doing research to see what job opportunities are out there. Because I think it's hard to necessarily, there's so much that's out there and so little that was like kind of known to me. I was like, oh my goodness, like I don't know what I'm equipped to do, but what I've learned is, as an athlete, like, you learn these skills that are so applicable in any field that you might go into.
Totally. I mean, when I graduated college and went to work for Nike, I had no idea. I had no idea. I don't know how to use this either. I had no idea like that the certain jobs that I ended up taking even existed when I was in college. So, I think getting out there and exploring and doing like shadowing, or even just getting into a company that is aligned to the passion that you have, is like a great place to start. Because if you're in a company that has like aligned values and aligned passion, then you'll eventually find your way to like what you like to do.
That's my hope, and I'm glad that you're saying that, because that's what I've been banking on.
It's a good one. It's a good way to go. Okay, so let's talk about you mentioned your body a little bit, like that we have like powerful bodies as female athletes. But it also can be challenging during that journey. And a lot of girls actually fall out of sport because of their bodies or body image issues. So, during your journey in sport and as a professional athlete, like, have you ever had, your own doubts about your own body, or challenges about how you look and feel about your body? And how did you deal with those, during your journey? Because we all go through it. Nobody talks about it except for we're talking about it because it's important. So, can you share a little bit about your experiences?
Yeah. So as a soccer player, I would say my weakness is actually the physical side of the game. So from a young age, I was always told, like, you're not strong enough, like, you're not big enough. Like, I didn't necessarily fit the mold of what they would consider like, this is the ideal fit for the position that you're playing, what it may be. And so that kind of like being told that all the time, I like in my head ingrained like I'm not fast, like I'm slow, and it was this massive insecurity for me. But
And
what I
Jordan, when was that? Like what age?
probably starting by the time I was like 14, I was being told that. But kind of like my approach is like you can always improve. And I'm someone that's going to put my head down and I'm going to work hard. And so someone was saying that, I was like, oh, you watch me. And so that was like I was always putting in extra work to combat and like work on it. Like I'm self-aware to know like, okay, what can I do to make myself better in whatever aspect that may be? And they would say whatever it may be. I was like, you know what? Like you might say I'm slow, but how come I'm getting to this ball faster than everyone else? How come I'm still able to be successful? Well, like that means that I'm enough. And I think that it's hard to like, especially as everyone's kind of comparing themselves to other people. And what I've learned just through sport and in life is that I don't really compare myself to anyone else. I compare myself to Jordan, and who I want to be and what I want to be. And so if I'm doing XYZ, like I'm only competing against myself. And so kind of like body image and whatever it may be, um, it's kind of like, okay, the fact that I was like told I was slow and whatnot, it was kind of like, how am I gonna take that? How am I gonna benefit myself from that? And like take what I think's important out of that and then throw the rest away.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I dealt with it. And I continued to deal with it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been talking to a lot of female athletes the last few weeks, and every single one of them had somebody say something about their body wasn't right for X, Y, or Z. And which just blows my mind, and all of you are professional athletes at the best at your craft. So I think just to all the girls out there that ever get told, somebody saying something about your body, just like keep focused on the game and continuing to like perfect your craft, because people are going to say it, unfortunately. And sometimes media doesn't help, as what I've been learning from some of these, even from some of the professionals. So I think being able to like find that validation inside is super important.
And I think that each person is really individual in that how they react to being told different things. And like if you are like as far as social media, like I know if I start to feel like it is affecting me and I'm not able to kind of block it off, well, I turn it off. I just don't
Yeah,
look at it. I'm like, it's not productive. It's not going to benefit. At the end of the day, like you are your biggest advocate, you are your biggest cheerleader. You need to fill your head, you need to fill your mind with things that are going to help you get to the next level, nothing that's going to hurt you.
totally. So let's talk about the mind for a little bit. Like we all know like the importance of having like strong mental toughness, mental health. Especially right now, when we're all stuck inside and we can't go anywhere. What are some of the tips you're using that you learned from Stanford, one of the best universities out there? And then as a pro athlete, what tips are like using to like keep your mental health in check, and strong during this time?
Yeah, I think my approach is to control what you can control. And that like in general, this pandemic, like we can control this, but we can control how we respond. And I'm a big advocate for positivity and making the best of any situation, of seeing the glass half full. So like at Stanford, whether it may be those early morning lifts, it might be those extra runs in spring when you're tired, whatever it may be, it was kind of like, well, we have two choices. Like, yeah, we can be upset and we can be sad and we can be in these like bad, grumbly moods because, oh, we have running today. Well, we have running no matter what. So you can do that, or you can make the best of it and say, like, wow, I'm outside, the sun is shining, I'm able to move. And what I find is that when I train myself and choose to think more positively, I am happier and those around me are happier. And and I like to be like when I'm happy, I'm playing my best soccer. I'm the best version of myself. And so right now in this pandemic, I have gotten really creative in my training. Like we aren't able to go to any fields. We get kicked off. I'm training.
Right.
I'm really lucky. I live with a teammate. And so we have gotten really creative, whether it be a tennis court, whether it be in our house, and we're making up these circuits and having some dance parties with it, like Zumba, changing the music. We're having fun with it, and we're just taking it as, okay, you can either be upset that we're not able to train as a team and do exactly what we want, or we can make the most of it and try to get better. And so we've kind of like made these goals for ourselves and like, this is what I want to improve on in this off season, or this is the goal I have, or in this off season, in this during this time. And that's kind of how we've approached it. And it's been really enjoyable. And we've found these new hobbies outside of soccer that we're really interested in. And it's making
Nice.
soccer, it's keeping us like sane and happy and just in a good place in this tough time.
Well, I'm excited to see your Zumba obstacle
No,
course.
we don't show anyone. That was the one promise we made.
Oh, that's amazing. Good roommates, good pack. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about, not all girls decide to go to college and play soccer. So you talked a little bit from your transition from college to pro, but talk about from like high school to college, and to the girls out there that are maybe thinking about going or not going, like, why did you go to Stanford? Why did you choose it? And what was your best experience that you had there?
Every experience. I look back on Stanford and I just smile. I miss it. Just kidding. I mean, it was awesome. So I had always dreamed of playing collegiate soccer. Like that had always been my goal to one, play collegiate soccer and to play professionally. And more than that, I wanted to play in the U.S. national team. So those are kind of my goals from a young age. And I like a lot of people told me like, oh man, like told my parents, I was not afraid to tell people it. And my parents were kind of like, everyone would be like, are you kidding me? Like your little 12-year-old is saying this kind of thing. And my parents were like, she's got it, like they encouraged me and they supported me, which was really awesome. As far as
That's
the
awesome.
college decision, I like didn't want to give in, or I wanted top academics and top soccer. And I wasn't willing to sacrifice one for the other. Growing up in high school, like I was able to play soccer and only play soccer if I had my grades too. Like it's a deal, it's a duo deal. They were together. And
Hmm.
I was really self-driven to hold myself to a high standard for both of those. So Stanford, well, not only had both of those for me, but just the campus, the environment, it was a very easy choice for me for college. It was a little scary when I was in high school to make that decision, simply because I was like, oh, like, am I going to get into the school? Like, whatnot? It's kind of like you verbally commit, and there's the potential that you could not get in. But
Mm.
so it was kind of like the outside of my comfort zone, but I knew I was going to grow, and I knew that I would benefit a lot from it, and it was the best decision for me. And then 4 years, 2 years now out of college, like 100%, or I guess 1 year out of college, it was the best decision. And um, at Stanford, my favorite experiences, I mean, a lot of them are on the soccer field, or if they're not on
Yeah.
the soccer field, they're off the soccer field at the cafeteria with my teammates. I just think that all 4 years, I mean, you have a new team every single year, but collectively, they're my best friends. They'll be my best friends for life. Jokingly, we have like our graduating class. We're called the Mob. There was 5 of us. And we were called the Mob because we did everything together. And they're like, you guys are like a mob. You are always together. And that was freshman year. And we continued the tradition for 4 years. We held strong.
Wow. And did
So
any of those girls go on to play pro also?
actually, crazy story. So 4 out of 5 of us are playing professionally. One of
Wow.
us, she's was accepted to every top medical school. So she's doing really well too. And then one of them is playing for PSG
Okay.
in France. And then 3 of us are on the Spirit, which is crazy.
Oh,
Tegan, my
no
roommate,
way. Oh,
is from Stanford. We were in the same class, and then Avery was just drafted to the Spirit this year.
amazing. And who's over at PSG that you were talking about?
Alana.
Alana. Okay.
And then Michelle is the one who's probably going to Stanford Med School.
Oh, that's super cool. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
those friendships that you make in soccer or any sport are like so amazing. It's one of the best things
It's
about
kind of
any
what I tell
sport.
people, like,
Yeah,
yeah, the soccer in itself has been so awesome. But at the end of the day, I think what I'm so grateful for soccer is the lessons I've learned from it and the people that I've met and the experiences I've had.
amazing. That's so good. Well, we're at the end of our time, but I feel one question just came in, so let me just look at it really quick. Um,
Okay.
do you love your mom? I don't think that's from your mom. Uh, favorite soccer drill? We covered that. Transition to professional soccer. What is it like getting to train with players such as Rose and Andy every day? Toughest
I,
place to play in the Pac-12. So both of those. Let's answer those real quick, and then I have one final question.
toughest place to play in the Pac-12. The Surprisingly, the Utah Colorado trip, I'm from Colorado. I was so excited to go home. The altitude is a killer when you have not been there. I was sucking wind at and
Yes.
warm up and not expecting that. I was like, I'm from Colorado. I'll be fine. And it was definitely tougher than I thought.
I played ODP there. In order to prep for ODP, because I was an Alaskan, I went to Colorado and I ran in Colorado. And
Smart.
it like really helped me because I was, being from Alaska, you don't have as many months in the year to train outside.
Altitude is real. I go home and I can't
Yeah.
breathe for like 2 weeks. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then training with Andy and Rose, and just even the spirit, the quality is so high. It was like at Stanford. You're training with the best of the best, and to get better, you need to surround yourself with people who are better than you and people who are going to push you. And so I feel really lucky to be surrounded, and not only to have them challenge me, but to have them support me and to be able to come off the field and be best friends and to help me in whatever aspect. So they have just been awesome. The team in general, the spirit, I'm telling you, they're teammates, but they're friends, and it's a second family, and I'm really thankful for that.
Oh, that's so awesome. And that's great to hear. I love that. Okay, so we'll end on the last question. Thank you so much for joining us. The last question, because we're here to serve all these girls in sport. What would be your one piece of advice that you would tell your younger self? So to all the girls in sport out there, what is your one piece of advice for them?
I think my one piece of advice is to take risks, to take chances, to put yourself outside of your comfort zone, for that's when the most growth happens. And that's when you can really see strides and grow as a person and as a player.
Love that. Love it. Thank you so much, Jordan. It was so great to have you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And I thank you everybody for joining us at Voice in Sport. Bye.
Bye.